Alright, so it's been a while since I've done anything related to Panthers stuff. I've been on travel in Korea, so didn't really want to spend that time looking at Panthers and other sports stuff. Rather just spend time with my relatives. Um, but anyways, I'm back. Gonna go through kind of like the recap of this game and then probably take a look at like the QB school analysis and just see and talk about what I've observed from this game. So let's just dive right into it. In terms of this game, the defense first drive they get a sack, they force a punt, and then the offense manages to get the field goal. The defense, honestly, this game does a pretty good job of not allowing touchdowns until the fourth quarter. They do let them into the red zone like twice, and then they eventually concede a touchdown. But otherwise, I think the defense actually did a pretty good job. They got an interception. They got a couple timely sacks. They ultimately only allowed 20 points. By the fourth quarter, it was around 13 points that they've scored. That's a totally winnable game if your offense isn't just totally hot garbage. The offense managed to just straight up score 9 points until garbage time. So the score of this game was 20-17. That's an extremely misleading score. The score was more so like 20-9, and they scored that 20 points with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. So anything that they score from then, it's a 2-score game. It's really hard to really come back. I consider that garbage time. So ultimately, they were able to score only 9 points across 4 quarters until when the Saints defense just completely gave up. So that's pretty bad. If you score 9 points in an NFL game, that's like, bro, even a touchdown and a field goal, given the extra point, is 10 points. You couldn't manage a touchdown and a field goal in 4 quarters and almost full 4 quarters of play. That's horrible. Young out there looked like he was running for his life, and he was also very allergic to throwing good balls. He honestly didn't really have the best of games. I'm going to have to also double check this with the QB school and see what he has to say. Sanders this time did not average 5 yards per carry. He averaged 3 yards. Young did fumble it, and that's really bad when you consider that, they did lose by 3 at the end of the day, and he lost it when they were clearly in field goal range. So that's a really big field span, man. There were a couple overthrows by Young, which isn't good. But there were some promises. Like, first of all, this is his second game, I think, ever. Young, I think, is actually pretty shifty on his feet, but he is like 5 foot something. And if he gets hit by a lineman or a linebacker, that fool is going to sleep. So I can understand his hesitancy to kind of run, because to really last long, you don't want to really run too much, and you want to play it pretty safe. Like, you don't want to see one of those meathead defenders run straight into your chest and you're out for the season. Like, nah. I can understand the reason why he doesn't scramble more, but the times that he did scramble and just like he dove for like first down, like whenever he does that sort of thing, he kind of cooked. All right, let's see. There were some crazy catches by Olave. This guy was honestly cooking us. He was barbecuing the defensive backs. And honestly, I don't know what they could have done. There was like this one time where he caught it with one hand. Like it was in front of him. He tipped it up with one hand and then he just catches it. Like, what do you want the guy to do? Like, this guy was just like, hold my nuggets. Credit to Chiseled Adonis over here. And he just caught the ball. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it was a very difficult thing to catch, and he caught it. Like, credit to him. I think the defensive backs just in general were okay. Like, honestly, the defense had to carry a lot, and when you're out there for so long, eventually you're bound to get tired. So any of that stuff where they gave up a touch, like, man, if the Panthers could just score the ball, like if they could just score points, this game would be close. Like, I think the defense does their job. Like, the point of the defense, obviously, you don't want to give up any points, but it's the NFL. Like, you're probably going to give up a field goal somewhere. So if you're able to keep it within a touchdown game, this should be, like, totally winnable, which it was for a really big majority of this game. C.J. Henderson, shout out for his 6 tackles. And yeah, that's just a quick reaction. I was, honestly, I mean, I kind of expected it's the Panthers. But, come on, can we give, like, a little bit more of a fight, man? So the next segment is going to be dedicated towards the QB School. It's a channel that I really recommend. It does great breakdowns of quarterbacks in the NFL. And it's really good because sometimes you'll see something on the field and you'll feel a certain way about it. And when you actually break it down, you'll realize that there's actually additional context that you didn't even consider to begin with. Football's a really big team sport. The quarterback needs to make a play and the wide receiver needs to make a play, right? And just because something looks really bad doesn't actually mean that it is, because there's a lot of context that you kind of miss while you're watching the game. And that's something that's really good about the QB School. Now, in terms of the actual analysis, I don't think there was like too much that I wanted to really dive into. But the thing that I wanted to say was he does believe that Bryce Young has good anticipation. He says that there was this play or two, there's these couple plays where the wide receiver did not run a good route. And it looks really bad in the game. But if you break it down, the defense just ran the route better than the wide receiver. Like, these guys were playing offense on defense. And when you factor that in, plus the fact that his line's not going to hold up forever, and the DBs are completely shutting down his wide receivers, Young doesn't really have much to work with. And that's the reason why he just is scrambling for his life, can't, hit the target to save his life. Because there's no one open. It's like, what do you want him to do? He's not going to just start running around like a headless chicken and then get his head decapitated by one of the players. Like, that's not going to happen. So, in reality, everyone just needs to play better. The wide receivers need to step it up. They need to, figure out their routes or something because it's not working. Bryce Young needs to adjust to the speed of the NFL. That's going to happen. It happens with every young player that comes into the league. These players are faster, they're stronger, they're better at everything than you have ever seen. So it's just natural that it's going to take time to adjust. And once that happens, he might be a pretty good quarterback. We'll see. But I guess QB School is a little bit more optimistic on the side of things. While, by the eye test, doesn't look great. But, I think there's a good path of optimism. It's unfortunate that they don't really own their own pick this coming year. But I'm very curious to see how the Panthers do. We know their record. We're going to see a lot more stuff in the future. But that being said, that wraps up the recap of week number 2. I want to see how the team kind of plays in week 3 and just, go through the entire season. See you later.